Just came back from the park, did a little walk and did a short amount of reading, read for about 20 minutes. And yeah, just trying to acknowledge that I did that. And I thought I'd acknowledge today as well, where it's been a day of trying to push myself and a day of effort. One positive thing is I got a better sleep last night, and in contrast to the night before, where I'd woken up early in the morning and I just felt really sort of mentally disorientated, and that kind of lasted the whole day. And I realised I had too much coffee. I was meeting someone, and so I had another cup of coffee with them, and it was kind of one too much. And it was kind of mid-afternoon, so that's something I need to be aware of. But last night, yesterday I didn't drink any coffee, so I kind of did the opposite than the day before, and I slept a lot better, and it's good to acknowledge I went to bed at a good time last night. I was really conscious of the pattern of me sort of going on YouTube and watching, I can't remember if I've shared it on here, but sometimes I get in a cycle of just watching reaction videos of people reacting to movies or TV shows, and I was kind of aware of that trigger. So I remember brushing my teeth and washing my face, thinking, okay, perhaps don't even go back on their laptop to watch anything. And I think that trigger is that maybe I find going to sleep, or maybe I just find going to sleep difficult, or there's some kind of energy at that time of night where I'm in some sort of mental distress and I need to distract myself, which is why I kind of go on YouTube and watch and use that as maybe a distraction tool or to make myself feel better. But instead, as I was brushing my teeth, I thought, okay, let's do some reading, because although I struggle with reading and sometimes it can feel it can be difficult to get into the mood, but last night I've kind of dialed into this book with some a bit more consistent reading, and so it was easy to kind of talk myself into doing that. So I woke up this morning after a better sleep. The first thing I did was hoovered and mopped the floor, because firstly it'd been on my mind for a long while, and I just wasn't able to I haven't been able to do it. It's just whether it's my mental energy, physical energy, and this morning I could sense some energy there, and I wanted to do some yoga, and because I live in quite a small, it's almost like a studio, I guess you can kind of probably see it in some of the videos. It's almost like a cabin. I live in like a large cabin, that I'd have to move certain furniture to make space, and the floor just felt really dirty, and I just didn't like the thought of putting furniture on it and then moving it back to, I've got this rug here, which is basically my living area, and so it kind of gave me some motivation and purpose to do that. And then it was strange with the yoga, right? In some ways I didn't want to do the yoga, like I don't know if I was in the mood or how much I enjoy doing yoga, because I wasn't, even though I slept better, I wasn't like, I haven't been for a long while. I felt super energized, like something that would be normal to me a while, a long time ago. But I felt like it was a healthy thing to do. So I could almost feel my body feeling more inflexible. I can feel certain aches and pains. So I was just conscious of trying to do something good for the body. So I managed to do kind of a long session of yoga. The video I watched was, I think it was about over half an hour, so it's a good amount of yoga. And I did some slow sort of press-ups just to help my shoulder. My shoulder's been bothering me. It's something, I've had an injury a while back, and it feels like a lot of my body's been hurting recently, like my foot still hurting. My knees have been hurting, which I've had issues with in the past, so those started to hurt again, and then my shoulder as well. So I thought I'd try to do something positive for my body. And I managed to shower today. I haven't showered in a 2 or 3 days, so it was good to feel refreshed, and I managed to shave my head and my beard, so that was just things that make you feel a bit better. I had the energy to do, and for me all of that stuff's a lot to do in one morning. And after that I did a short walk around the park, my first walk earlier today, and I found a bench and did a bit of reading. And then, I've kind of just had a relaxed afternoon. I've watched a bit of tennis, which was good. It was nice because I kind of decided just to watch the match fully, not to read in between games, I decided I just wanted to, I find it was nice doing that, but I also didn't want the jolt of going back from one thing to another. I felt like my mind wasn't really too good for my mind today to do that, so I just kind of put all my energy into watching it, and it was nice because I found myself wanting to be present and mindful as I watched it. So even as I felt some emotions of wanting one player to win, or for a certain point to go a certain way in a match, I was able to bring some mindfulness and some presence to it, so I could sense some peace and I could feel like I could feel kind of I was aware of my body, which felt good, and it was a good practice, and it just reinforced that practice to do more often, as well as doing conscious phases of mindfulness, but just just made me aware of the importance where every moment's an opportunity just to be mindful, to kind of where it becomes perhaps more of a normality than something you have to step into. I just kind of was just reminding myself of that it's something good for me to strive for in some ways, to make it something that I do more so than not, and it becomes second nature to live in that way, which seems quite a grand thing, and it's perhaps in some ways to not put pressure on myself to suddenly be mindful 24/7, but just to be aware of living in that way and the benefits of it. So not to make it like a goal, but just feel the benefit of being in that way, and perhaps just keeping it simple, just having more moments in the present, like now I could I can kind of step into that energy, and I find it's probably the key, one thing that will be good for me and my health. one thing I've noticed while mentioning these activities is just there has been a sense of deep tiredness or deep fatigue, especially mental fatigue as well. During a couple of sessions of reading, I could sense my brain having to work overtime to read and absorb the story, almost like if you've got an injury, then there's extra effort to do something. It's almost like that. It felt like, so I could sense this fuzziness there, and partly it feels like deep tiredness, but partly it feels like a word I use a lot is dysfunction, just mental sort of dysfunction. It's hard to express, because if I could say my mind feels broken, then I don't know, that could be perceived in lots of ways, but it feels like it feels that way. Even though I'm trying, persevering, it's I can still sense the damage of the mind, that whatever it's absorbed and whatever it's gone through. And it's trying to be okay with that, and with the mindfulness and presence is not a case of directly trying to remedy and fix the mind in that way, but perhaps be looking at it in a way that it gives me every chance to try and strengthen the mind, or for the mind to heal on its own when I'm not adding more stress to it. And it might be a case where healing doesn't take place, but I don't make my mind worse. Maybe sometimes it's easier just to let all of that stuff go and just try and take care of the moment, whatever that helps the mind or prevents more damage or more stress. Then I can leave that to sort of that's in some ways too much for me to think about. I can leave that to take care of itself. Just try and just do what I can that brings sort of healing and self-care. And I feel the mindfulness practice will help with that. So I'm going to try and continue that for the rest of the afternoon and evening. I may watch a little bit more tennis, and as I was walking back, I could really feel my knees hurting. So I've tried not to be negative about that, because it feels like there's a temptation, I could feel it, of being frustrated with my body, with it going through various aches and pains, and it feels like I haven't done a lot with my body to strain it. So, but just as part of like the mindfulness practice, presence practice, just accepting, okay, there's pain in my knees, and so maybe I'll try some stretches, or there's some old physio exercises I used to do for my knees that helped, which I may do if it continues. So I can do that. I had gone back to my doctor about my foot, but I haven't heard from them in about a week. So again, I've tried not to get sort of frustrated with that, or have thoughts of, oh, they don't care, or they feel like I'm being a bother, or because I struggled with the physio, perhaps they're not bothering with me to help. Because it feels like, I don't know why they haven't got back to me. It could very well be they're just really busy. But I can just keep them in the back of my mind, perhaps, midway through next week, maybe to contact the surgery to find out, what's happening with my appointment request. It seems more of a sensible thing to do. Try and look at it from a perspective of how things are in this moment, instead of following thoughts. So, going back to the mindful stuff. So so I've done 2 sessions of reading today, and I purposely checked my time before I started reading, just as I did it just now, and then checked afterwards, and it was about 20 minutes. I was just curious to see, how much I could read for, and the bench I was sitting on was getting a bit uncomfortable, and I did have a thought of, trying to push myself to read more, because it just didn't feel like it was a whole lot, 20 minutes. And, again, comparing myself to a time when I was more well, when I would, be able to read for an hour or more. So I just thought, okay, I'm not too comfortable on this bench anymore, and it's getting a bit windy, and I thought, okay, that's enough, that's okay. And just acknowledging the time I did read. I may try and do some editing tonight. I've just realised the chair I've got, that you've probably seen in some other videos, it's kind of slouches down, and so in order to balance a laptop or a laptop tray, I have to position my legs in a certain position, and I wonder if that's what's causing my knees to start hurting. But so it doesn't really feel comfortable to work in a chair with my laptop, really, especially with the pain. So there's like the counter behind me there, that I can sort of stand up and maybe do some work standing up, which might help my legs as well. So I may do a little bit of that today. Again, I'm conscious of how long I'm sit down as well, because I've listened to a podcast about just how long we sit for, and it was kind of advised that every hour or so we get up for a few minutes, or you can do a little bit of pacing. And so I've kind of got that in the back of my mind as well, to not sit for too long all in one go, to kind of break it up. So maybe I can do perhaps another 20 minutes, if that seems to be my stamina for today, for reading at least. So maybe I can do a short amount of writing. And again, my main priority is also to go to bed again at a consistent time, and I feel like everything comes back to the mindfulness practice, because in that place of centeredness, of clarity, then it makes it easy to go to bed. I won't sort of go off track and go down some sort of YouTube rabbit hole of videos. So I think I think that could be kind of my intention for the rest of the day, to put that mindfulness practice kind of as my as my main priority, I think. Hopefully that won't put too much pressure on myself, but let's see how it goes. Just take one moment at a time, and see how it goes.